Be sure to hype this video up. Also like, share, subscribe, and comment because the algorithm is going to suppress it. Also, watch it in its entirety. So it seems as though content creator and influencer Druski has another viral hit on his hands. If you will recall, his last skit took aim at the Christian church. And this latest skit that has everyone in an uproar is aimed at white conservative women, most namely and specifically some of the actions and talking points of Erika Kirk. Now, as you can imagine, it ruffles some feathers like Druski tends to do. Of course, you know, the racists were going to come out with the same old sad talking points. But what's really embarrassing is how white conservative women still somehow have not learned their lesson, and how this whole ideology of conservative talking points and the church, how none of these things are actually going to work in their favor. In fact, they're working directly against them. First, I'm going to start by showing you what the church thinks of people like Druski.
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut. Yeah. Right? Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
See, one of the things that I've always found bizarre is how angry people get at content creators when they do parodies that are basically just paraphrasing or reenacting things that you have actually done and said. For instance, they got angry at Druski for saying this.
We have to protect all men in America, especially all white men in America. Those are the boys that we care about in this country. America is built on their backs. Yes, because they are the ones who mattered most.
And really all he was doing was paraphrasing when Erika Kirk said this.
Don't let anyone disenfranchise you because you're a young man. Especially a young white male man. Don't ever let anyone talk down to you. We need strong men out there. Strong men who are convicted. That will be good leaders, good husbands, good fathers like mine. We need that.
See, desperately clinging on to the patriarchy that seeks to destroy you is actually rotting the brain of conservative white women. And that's why they continue to vote against their best interest. So as they continue to talk about family values and Christianity, here's what the men of their community actually think about them and this country and how their lives should go.
Had sex with my wife, and it's impossible to your wife. Idiots out there online. You can't your wife. That's not even possible because she belongs to you. Amen? You know? But if your husband slaps you down and you call the cops, you're evil. Period. You're the one who's evil. Am I bothering you? Anyone? Anyone? Am I bothering you? Because you know what? I don't want to pastor a church of idiots. I don't want to pastor a church of evil, feminist broads who call the cops on their husband. So go, you don't like it?
What I'm going to show you now is even more frightening clips. And I want you to pay attention to how the guy in this next set of clips looks strangely like one of the commanders in A Handmaid's Tale, and why the irony should not be lost on anyone.
I have 4 people in my life that I dictate the hours in their day. I dictate what time they go to the bathroom, when we eat, what we wear.
Well, there's all these women, you know, who are on public platforms and they're speaking, you know, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And it's just the fact that we don't acknowledge that women have faults, and the fact that we never speak about their sin, and that we never hold them accountable. No, they shouldn't be speaking, period. I'm going to be that guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be that guy. They should not be. The public sphere is not the realm.
You mean I don't want to see women in the public sphere?
You mean they shouldn't hold political office? Correct. You mean you don't want to see them podcasting? Correct. Well, but what about in the marketplace, with, 9 to 5, careers? No, not that either. Like, I don't want to see women holding positions in the public square. The record, I think the 19th Amendment should be repealed. I think that because, well, first and foremost, because I'm a Christian, and that is the Christian position. Oh my gosh, you're saying that? Yes, that is the Christian position, is that households should not be divided against one another. So by repealing the 19th Amendment, just for the record, it's not just trying to take away a female vote, but it's trying to say, no, there's a family vote. Right. There's a household. And it's like, well, where do women get their voice? Where women get their voice is from their father, from their husband. If they're not married, it's from their father. If they're not married and their father's dead, it's from their brother, it's from their uncle, it's the men in their lives.
Now to a voting bill passed by the House that is causing some confusion and concern. It's called the SAVE Act. The bill, formerly known as the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, would require states to ask individuals for proof of citizenship in person in order to register to vote or update voter registration for a federal election. So that means providing a birth certificate or passport. The measure also would require states to remove non-citizens from existing voter rolls. Proponents of the bill say it's a way to make sure non-citizens don't vote in American elections. So what's the cause for concern? Well, opponents say this goes beyond a voter ID law and will make it more difficult for millions to vote. Let's dive deeper into this. We've got Michael Waldman, the President and CEO of the Brennan Center for Justice at NYU Law. Some voting advocacy groups worry that the largest groups of people who could be disenfranchised are married women who changed their last names.
It's a very legitimate point of concern. About 8 in 10 women who get married change their names. Very frequently, their current information, their voter records don't match their birth certificate. It's the kind of thing that would make it much harder for many millions of people to vote.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth recently made headlines when he shared a CNN video on social media about the Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches, an arch-conservative network of Christian congregations where he's a member. The video included its pastors arguing women should not have the right to vote.
I was very grateful to him for doing that. He didn't just repost it like, oh, here's an interesting thing that these weird people are doing. So he was, in effect, reposting it and saying amen at some level.
Pastor Doug Wilson, the network's co-founder, is no stranger to controversy with his church's embrace of patriarchy and Christian nationalism. They are a network of over 130 churches and have recently opened a new church in Washington, D.C., with Hegseth attending its first Sunday service.
This is the first time we've had connections with as many people in national government as we do now.
And young women, we need you to also rise up. Don't compromise yourself. Don't look at other women and compare yourself. God has created you for a purpose and a reason far greater than you and I will ever know on this side of heaven. But just know that as long as you're a part of Turning Point USA, you have us by your side, and we will be there for you every step of the way.
See, the problem with these women is that they think that they're safe. They think they're the exception to the rule. See, their game plan is to just keep giving birth to white men. See, as long as I keep giving birth to white men and I'm related to them, if I can marry one, then I'm going to be in the protected class. And it doesn't matter what happens to all of the other women on the planet. I get to be Serena Joy. Yeah, it's not really going to work out that way, though.
The Speaker of the Florida House is apologizing tonight for repeatedly referring to pregnant women as host bodies. State Representative Jose Oliva made the comments during a discussion on abortion in an interview with CBS 4's Jim DeFeeti, part of which aired last night at 7. Here's a portion of that interview.
And it's a complex issue because one has to think, well, there's a host body, and that host body has to have a certain amount of rights because at the end of the day, it is that body that carries this entire other body to term.
Immediately after the interview aired, Oliva faced a storm of criticism from those who viewed his comments as demeaning to women. Today, he issued a statement saying he never intended to offend anyone. Quote, in a recent interview where the very controversial topic of abortion was raised, I used the term host to describe a pregnant woman. It was an attempt to use terminology found in medical ethics writings with the purpose of keeping the discussion dispassionate. The reaction undoubtedly shows it had the exact opposite effect. I apologize for having caused offense. My aim was the contrary. This is and will continue to be our society's greatest challenge. I strongly believe both mother and child have rights, and the extent of and balance of those rights remain in question. I regret my wording has distracted from the issue. My apologies to all.
And even if it did, you being Serena Joy and the fact that you don't care about all of the other women in The Handmaid's Tale and what they have to go through. You don't care if they end up as a handmaid or if they end up in Jezebel's or as a Martha, as long as you get to sit comfortably. And nobody seems to be alarmed by the fact that there are politicians that openly state how they agree with these talking points and how dangerous they are. The men who are in positions of power are going right along with these talking points, saying it out in the open with chest. And we are able to witness in real time how Gilead is here, baby. The Handmaid's Tale, well, we're living in it right now, lest we forget.
Episode 9 takes place about a month after the incident with Of Matthew, and Of Matthew is being kept alive solely to give birth to this baby. June, on the other hand, is being punished and is being forced to get on her knees and pray for the baby throughout most of the day until this baby arrives. But lucky for June, she won't be waiting much longer because the baby does arrive. It's a baby boy, and June is finally allowed to leave. And as she's leaving, she runs into a little girl, once again about Hannah's age, who is helping her out of the hospital. The little girl asks June if she had a kid, and June says, "No, I was here to visit a sick friend." And the girl says, "Yeah, I'm here just to figure out if I can have kids yet, just as soon as I get married." And this little girl is obviously brainwashed.
30-year-old Adriana Smith was about 9 weeks pregnant when she started having bad headaches in February.
Enough to know that something was wrong.
April Newkirk says her daughter went to Northside Hospital for help.
They gave her some medication. Didn't do any CT scans. If they did, they would have caught it.
The next morning, Adriana's boyfriend noticed something was terribly wrong.
She was gasping for air in her sleep, gargling. She was taken to Emory, Decatur, and then she was transferred here.
To Emory University Hospital, where Adriana worked as an RN.
They did a CT scan and she had blood clots all in her head. So they had asked me if they could do a procedure to relieve them, and I said yes. And then they called me back and they said that they couldn't do it.
Doctors declared Adriana brain dead.
I feel as if somebody dropped the ball at the hospitals, and her boyfriend asked, please keep her. If she was kept at the hospital, we wouldn't be here.
Because of Georgia's heartbeat bill, which bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, her family says they weren't given any say in what happens next.
It's torture for me. I come here and I see my daughter, but she's not there. And she has a son. She's pregnant with my grandson, but my grandson may be blind, may not be able to walk, wheelchair bound. We don't know if he'll live once she has him.
A situation she says no one should be forced into.
It should have been left up to the family. And I'm not saying that we would have chose to terminate her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we should have had a choice.
So for everybody who's just trying to focus on the fact that someone lost a loved one or a family member, she lost her husband, the children lost their father. Yeah, we know. But that's getting ready to happen to a whole lot more people now that they're sending your sons over to war. That's getting ready to happen to a whole lot more people now that they have ICE agents rounding up illegal immigrants, and also American citizens alike, trampling on your civil liberties. They don't care. You all have voted Gilead onto all of us. You voted all of us into Gilead. And I want you to think about how that worked out for Serena Joy. What happened when she thought that she was bigger than the program? Just because she was the one that helped usher it in. That did not stop the men in power from trampling over her. And that's exactly what's getting ready to happen to these conservative women that Druski was making fun of. The problem that I have with that is the 92%ers, such as myself and other non-conservatives, we didn't vote for that. Yet we have to suffer right along with you. See, I don't think that Druski went far enough. Hype this video up or people will never see it.